Recent revelations from The Young and the Restless have stirred intense speculation among viewers after several leaked scenes surfaced online, offering tantalizing hints about the turmoil about to erupt in Genoa City. These fragments of upcoming episodes do not reveal the entire truth, yet they paint a troubling picture of secrets, manipulation, and desperation slowly tightening around several key characters. At the center of this brewing storm stands Billy Abbott, a man whose restless mind rarely allows him to remain passive when someone he loves may be in danger. Rumors that Jack Abbott could be alive but trapped somewhere have begun circulating quietly, and Billy appears unwilling to sit still while uncertainty eats away at him. Meanwhile, another corner of the story unfolds around Carl Abbott, whose growing anxiety forces him to demand proof that his father has survived whatever sinister plot may have unfolded. Yet while the Abbott family struggles with fear and suspicion, an entirely different conflict simmers nearby involving Audra Charles and a persistent young man named Holden Novak, whose motives may prove far more dangerous than they first appear. The leaked footage begins with a seemingly simple encounter between Holden and Audra, yet the tension beneath their conversation suggests a deeper scheme slowly revealing itself. Holden approaches Audra with the kind of forced charm that instantly raises suspicion, repeatedly attempting to convince her to share a drink with him. His tone carries the unmistakable mix of confidence and desperation that often signals someone who believes persistence will eventually break down resistance. Audra, however, remains unmoved by his efforts. She rejects his invitation calmly but firmly, her demeanor suggesting that she has little patience for games or distractions. The repeated refusals do not discourage Holden. Instead, they appear to fuel his determination. Each rejection becomes another reason for him to push further, as if he believes the conversation he wants to have cannot be delayed any longer. Trying to change tactics, Holden begins talking about his own frustrations, revealing that he has recently been turned down for a job at another company. The comment seems casual at first, almost self-deprecating, but there is a calculated element in the way he presents the information. By portraying himself as someone who has been unlucky or overlooked, Holden subtly attempts to position himself as sympathetic, perhaps hoping Audra might soften toward him. He even jokes that maybe she could hire him at her new company instead, presenting the suggestion as a light-hearted remark. Yet beneath that humor lies a strategic attempt to remain connected to her world. Holden understands that Audra's ambitions are rapidly expanding, and attaching himself to her orbit could offer opportunities he would otherwise never access. During the exchange, Holden references a previous topic they supposedly discussed earlier, hinting at something unfinished between them. This vague remark catches Audra off guard. Her expression shifts slightly as she asks him what exactly he is referring to. The moment reveals an important detail about their dynamic, while Holden clearly believes he is continuing a conversation with a shared understanding. Audra either genuinely does not recall the topic or chooses to pretend ignorance in order to force him to reveal his intentions openly. Her response places Holden in a position where he must either abandon the subject or finally say what he truly came to say. Eventually, Holden abandons the indirect approach and reveals the real reason he sought Audra out. The confession arrives quietly, but carries enormous implications. He wants Audra's help in breaking apart the relationship between Carl Abbott and Claire Grace Newman. The request immediately changes the tone of the conversation. What began as an awkward attempt at friendly persuasion now exposes itself as part of a calculated attempt to manipulate the romantic lives of others. Holden's reasoning is not entirely clear, but the intensity behind his proposal suggests that Carl and Claire's relationship represents an obstacle to something he wants to achieve. Whether his motives are personal resentment, financial opportunity, or a hidden alliance with someone else remains uncertain. Yet the mere suggestion of interference introduces a dangerous new layer of intrigue. Audra's reaction to the proposal reveals a complex internal struggle. On the surface, she rejects the idea almost immediately. She insists that she has no interest in meddling with Carl and Claire's relationship because her focus is on something far more important, building her new company and securing her own future. Audra has spent too much of her life navigating other people's power struggles, and she appears determined to carve out a path defined by independence rather than revenge. Her tone suggests that she wants to distance herself from the endless cycle of manipulation that so often defines Genoa City. For a moment, it seems possible that she may truly walk away from Holden's scheme. Yet the tension in her expression hints that the situation may not be so simple. Audra is a woman who understands the value of strategy and leverage. Even if she claims she has no interest in revenge, the history she shares with several figures in this story means the temptation to intervene might be stronger than she admits. Holden seems to sense this hesitation. Rather than press aggressively, he lets the idea linger in the air, confident that the seed of possibility has already been planted. Sometimes the most effective manipulation does not require immediate agreement. It only requires introducing an option that begins to feel inevitable over time. While this tense negotiation unfolds, the Abbott family continues to wrestle with a much larger crisis involving Jack. Rumors that he might still be alive have circulated quietly through the corridors of Genoa City, but confirmation remains elusive. Billy refuses to accept uncertainty as an answer. Known for his impulsive nature, Billy has nevertheless demonstrated an ability to develop bold strategies when someone he loves is threatened. According to the leaked scenes, he has begun constructing a plan that could potentially expose whoever is responsible for Jack's disappearance. The details remain unclear, yet the intensity with which Billy pursues this plan suggests he is willing to risk everything to uncover the truth. Kyle, however, refuses to rely solely on speculation. The possibility that his father might still be alive ignites both hope and fear inside him, creating a relentless need for proof. Kyle demands evidence, something tangible that confirms Jack's survival rather than vague theories and whispered rumors. His insistence reflects the emotional burden he carries. For Kyle, believing Jack might be alive without proof would only prolong the agony of uncertainty. He needs facts, not hope, because hope without evidence can be more painful than the truth itself. As these parallel storylines unfold, the narrative tension grows stronger. Billy's mysterious plan suggests that a major revelation could be approaching, one capable of shaking the entire Abbott family. At the same time, Holden's attempt to recruit Audra into his plot against Kyle and Claire hints at a secondary conflict that may spiral far beyond its initial scope. If Audra ultimately chooses ambition over revenge, Holden's scheme could collapse before it begins. But if even a fragment of resentment persuades her to reconsider, the consequences for Kyle and Claire could be devastating. The leaked scenes therefore function as more than simple previews. They serve as warning signals of emotional storms gathering on multiple fronts. The Abbott family stands on the edge of a truth that could either reunite them with Jack or shatter their remaining stability. Meanwhile, outside forces quietly maneuver to exploit personal relationships for their own advantage. In Genoa City, secrets rarely remain buried forever, and every whispered plan eventually collides with someone else's desperate attempt to control the future. As these threads tighten, the question becomes unavoidable: will Billy's determination uncover the truth about Jack in time, or will the growing web of manipulation surrounding Kyle, Claire, Audra, and Holden trigger a chain reaction that no one can stop once it begins? Recent developments in The Young and the Restless have sent shockwaves through the fan community as the truth behind Jack's disappearance has finally begun to surface, revealing a scheme so ruthless that it perfectly reflects the dangerous mind behind it. Viewers now understand that the mastermind responsible for Jack's captivity is none other than Victor Newman, a man whose reputation in Genoa City has always been built on ruthless strategy and absolute control. Victor has allegedly kidnapped Jack Abbott and is using him as leverage in a high-stakes power game. His demand is chillingly simple yet incredibly dangerous. If the Abbotts want Jack back alive, they must return Chancellor to him. It is the kind of calculated move that only Victor could orchestrate, turning a family crisis into a corporate weapon. The moment this possibility becomes clear, panic spreads among those closest to Jack, forcing them to confront an impossible dilemma between business power and family loyalty. In the aftermath of this revelation, a tense meeting takes place involving Kyle Abbott, Diane Jenkins, Billy Abbott, and Sally Spectra. The atmosphere surrounding the group is heavy with suspicion and dread. Each of them understands that Victor is not merely making threats. He is playing a carefully constructed game where every move has been anticipated. Kyle, who has grown up witnessing Victor's manipulations firsthand, is the first to articulate what everyone else is beginning to suspect. He warns that Victor is treating this situation like a deadly chess match, positioning every player exactly where he wants them. If that is the case, then Kyle's insistence on proof of life becomes not only logical but essential. He refuses to accept Victor's demands blindly without confirmation that Jack is truly alive. The possibility that Victor could be manipulating them with nothing more than rumors terrifies him, and he cannot allow his family to surrender their power without certainty. Kyle's demand for proof reflects both his desperation and his growing maturity. He knows Victor too well to assume that the threat alone guarantees Jack's survival. Victor has spent decades proving that he is capable of extraordinary cruelty when it serves his objectives. For Kyle, the situation becomes a brutal emotional puzzle. He must remain rational while his father's life may be hanging in the balance. The fear that Jack could be suffering somewhere in captivity gnaws at him, but surrendering Chancellor without evidence could lead to an even worse outcome. Victor might obtain what he wants and still refuse to release Jack. The uncertainty forces Kyle to adopt a hard stance, one that might appear cold but is ultimately rooted in protecting both his father and his family's future. At the center of the discussion stands Billy, whose reaction reveals just how serious the situation may be. Billy quietly suggests that Jack could already be in real danger, and his words send a wave of unease through the room. Billy understands Victor's methods perhaps better than anyone else present. Victor has built his empire on patience, intimidation, and psychological warfare. If he truly has Jack locked away somewhere, Billy believes Victor could keep him hidden for a very long time. The thought alone is terrifying. Billy knows that Victor has the resources, the connections, and the absolute lack of hesitation necessary to make a kidnapping disappear into silence. Waiting for Victor to show mercy is not an option. Yet Billy also faces a moral crossroads. If Victor's demand is genuine, then returning Chancellor might secure Jack's freedom. But doing so would also mean handing Victor exactly what he wants: control, victory, and the humiliation of the Abbott family. Billy understands that once Victor regains Chancellor, there may be no way to undo the damage. The company represents not only financial power but also the legacy of generations. Giving it away under pressure would feel like surrendering everything the Abbotts stand for. Billy struggles with this dilemma internally, torn between protecting his brother and preserving their family's future. In the midst of this tense debate, Billy finally introduces an idea that immediately divides the group. He proposes reaching out to Nikki Newman. The suggestion surprises everyone. Nikki is Victor's wife, and involving her in such a sensitive matter could either open a new path to the truth or ignite an even greater conflict. Billy argues that Nikki would never tolerate the idea of Jack being held hostage somewhere. Despite the long history of rivalry between Victor and Jack, Nikki has shared moments of genuine friendship and respect with Jack over the years. Billy believes that if Nikki learns the truth, she might pressure Victor to reveal where Jack is being held. Diane, however, reacts with immediate skepticism. She believes approaching Nikki would accomplish nothing because Victor would simply deny everything. Victor has spent a lifetime perfecting the art of deception, and Diane doubts that Nikki could extract a confession from him. In her eyes, confronting Nikki might only alert Victor that the Abbotts are onto him, giving him time to tighten his control over the situation. Diane's mistrust of Victor runs so deep that she no longer believes any strategy involving him can succeed. Billy refuses to abandon the idea. He argues that the goal is not necessarily to force Nikki to expose Victor directly, but rather to create pressure. If Nikki begins asking questions, Victor might feel compelled to respond. Billy believes that Nikki's influence over Victor is stronger than most people realize. Even if Victor never admits the truth outright, Nikki's suspicions could force cracks in his carefully constructed plan. The key, Billy insists, is making sure Nikki hears the story from them before Victor has the chance to manipulate the narrative. The conversation becomes increasingly emotional as Diane's anger surfaces. At one point she declares that Victor is nothing less than a monster. The word hangs heavily in the air because everyone present understands why she feels that way. Victor's reputation in Genoa City has long been that of a brilliant strategist who will stop at nothing to win. To Diane, kidnapping Jack crosses a line that proves Victor has become something far darker than a rival businessman. She argues that expecting Nikki to challenge Victor might be unrealistic. Victor has always found ways to maintain control over his world, and Diane fears that Nikki might ultimately stand by her husband rather than betray him.